Let's bring in the Statistician-General Risenga Maluleke just to discuss these numbers a little bit further. Tatan Maluleke, good afternoon. Welcome to today, and thank you very much for your time. I mean, it does sound like a bit of good news when you hear a decrease, even if it's 11,000 odd jobs in terms of unemployment, but it does not really move the needle, does it? I mean, when it comes to the jobs crisis in the country.
Well, Tatana Moyana, let me greet you and indicate that I don't carry good or bad news. I just carry news. Like yourselves as the media houses, you carry news. And the reason for that is because we can't look at numbers we like and we make them available. But particularly on this one, the one thing that I guess South Africans could rejoice about, the Statistician-General never rejoices on these kinds of things, is because this is the 7th consecutive quarter that we see gains in employment, in that we gained from the previous quarter 154,000 jobs. And this gain has actually moved us to 16.3 million employed people, which will then, which is inching us closer to pre-COVID levels, where we were sitting at 16.4 in the first quarter of 2020.
So the news is to be welcomed, therefore, but which were some of the sectors from your numbers that contributed the most to the employment in the second quarter?
Construction contributed 104,000 jobs. It was followed by trade that contributed 92,000 jobs. And both of them were followed by community and social services, which includes government, which contributed 63,000 jobs. Of course, private households contributed 37,000 jobs. And there were mining and agriculture that contributed 6,000 and 7,000 jobs each. But let me mention, and utilities, electricity and water. The biggest drop down was from manufacturing that lost 96,000 jobs. But it still could not, itself and finance that lost 68,000 jobs. They could not subvert the gain of 254,000 jobs that the sectors that contributed the most did.
Yeah, how should we interpret the point you've made, or the fact that this is the 7th consecutive quarter where we are seeing employment gain? I mean, I'm just wondering about the trend. I mean, it sounds good, but how should we interpret it?
Well, let us start from the side of the economy, where in the first quarter, and let's start from the last quarter of 2022, where there was speculation that the economy would grow in the negative, and indeed it grew in the negative. In the first quarter of this year, there was a lot of speculation that we would go in the negative, and that negative growth was going to cause a recession. And we avoided a recession, although that we grew at 0.4% at the time when we reported. So the fact that the economy, regardless of challenges that it is facing, of load shedding, it has shown resilience. And indeed, there is always a lag from the side of economic performance to the job markets, because economic performance is a compilation we make from the side of enterprises. Whereas this one, we go to households and ask them if they are employed, and if they are not employed, when did they lose their job, which sector they worked in. So indeed, our economy has shown resilience, albeit the challenges, and the jobs are showing that we are waving goodbye to the challenges that were imposed on us as a nation by COVID-19.
Yeah, but still we see youth unemployment remaining stubbornly high. I mean, is this an indication that young people in our country remain the most vulnerable to unemployment when compared to other age groups?
This is not a COVID-related matter. I must say that even prior to COVID, young people, particularly 15 to 24 years, have remained vulnerable to labor markets. So are women. The unemployment rate for young people 15 to 24 years is the highest in the country, sitting at 60.7%. And of course, when we look again at that age cohort, 15 to 24 years, there are 10.2 million of them, regardless of where they are. Out of the 10.2 million, 3.5 million are not in employment, education, or training. They just wake up and sit. So they are vulnerable to labor markets. The second age cohort are those 25 to 34. Their unemployment rate is in the region of about 39%. But also women. The unemployment rate of women, especially when you look at the expanded unemployment rate, is relatively high. But when you look at the narrow definition, which is our headline number, and I will come back to the headline number, how we go about it, is that the Black African woman is much more vulnerable to labor markets. So it's worse when you are Black African and you are young in the age cohort of 15 to 24. It's much worse.
And when you're a young woman, when you're a young woman, Black woman, it's even worse.
Yes, yes. Now, let me come to the headline number, which you have started with, Tatana Moya, in that we are saying that our unemployment rate is sitting at 32.6%. That 32.6% is representative of 7.9 million people that are actively looking for employment. And of course, we also have another 3.2 million people who are your discouraged work seekers. When we add them to the 7.9 million, as well as the 800,000 people who said they didn't look for employment other than for other reasons than discouragement, we come to 11.9 million, which is represented by an expanded unemployment rate of 42.1%. So usually we are asked why we put the 32.6, which is 7.9 million people unemployed, as the headline. It is because our country in the National Development Plan tracks the narrow definition as the headline unemployment rate. And but we still make the two numbers available so that the country can have an understanding of what the unemployment challenge is.
Okay, my final question to you, Statistician General, is around provincial performance in terms of employment. Which provinces recorded the most increases in the quarter that is currently under discussion?
The provinces of Limpopo, Western Cape are the lead provinces in terms of creating employment, in that we are talking about 80,000 jobs that were created in Limpopo, followed by the Western Cape. And of course, the provinces of the Free State as well as the Northern Cape recorded the highest job losses that we have seen.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Risenga Maluleke, the Statistician General of the Republic of South Africa. Well, there you have it, the numbers being unpacked. The employment situation, slight improvement. It's a 7th consecutive drop in terms of the unemployment rate, which should be welcome news. But will we be able to sustain and improve on these numbers under the current economic performance of our country? One wonders, but we remain hopeful.